Hello, everyone, and welcome. I want to salute your bravery for coming to a mysterious public workshop for the Captain Fitzgerald and former Maine Gravel Services Task Force or Master Plan Committee. I hope because you are here, you are either curious, you'll get a chance to learn about what we're doing and what our project is. But I hope you have had a chance to explore some of the resources that tell you about this parcel and this opportunity. My name is Sherry Mason. I am the chair of this planning committee. I guess we're a committee, not a task force, but and I want to take us through what we're going to do today. So first I want to talk about sort of who the committee is and who it is not. We have 2 members of the town council on our committee, and otherwise we are citizens of Brunswick. In a moment, we'll introduce ourselves to you. And we also have Tom Farrell, who's a town staff, the director of the Parks and Rec Department. But that's the committee that we're on. We were given a charge by the town council to make recommendations for what to do with this piece of land, and that's the process we're in. We don't actually get to decide what happens. We're going to suggest things, and what we're doing in this process is listening to you and your neighbors who aren't able to be here, and trying to balance the ideas that we hear and make a recommendation that works for our town. So that's the who and the what. I'll tell you the when of this. This committee was formed in the fall, this past fall, and we've been meeting, we skipped a meeting in November, but we were formed in October, and then we've been meeting every 3 weeks on Thursdays from 4:30 to 6 in the town council chambers. And on your way out, if you didn't pick one up, there is a schedule of our upcoming meetings. They're also streamed on Zoom and are televised, so you can watch the old ones to know what we've been up to and what we'll be doing. Our goal, our deadline is to give recommendations to the town council before the middle of October of 2024. So this is a slow citizen process because there are a lot of parts. We want to listen. We want to learn what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do from the state permitting process, and sort of explore what would be involved in doing the things that you, the citizens, tell us you want to see on that land, and then write a plan. And Tom will tell you a little bit more about our constraints and obligations for what that plan needs to look like, or what we think will work best for the town council to make that plan. But that's the process we're engaged in. And what we intend to do is listen today and through some other steps that we'll tell you more about. And then we're going to take the ideas that come from the town and try to figure out how to reconcile the ideas, what to do with the ideas, and what the constraints around implementing those ideas might be. And that's what's going to be, what our committee work and what that report is going to be that we deliver to the town council. We anticipate that we're going to do our best to come up with a plan or a recommendation for the town council, and then we'll bring it back to the public so that you'll have a chance to say, oh, this is what they came up with, they're missing something, or I disagree with that. And you'll have a chance to look at it, give us more feedback, or tell the town council you think we're way off base or something like that. So that is what we're engaged in generally as a committee, and that's what today is part of. It's part of that process. And that how, we've been hearing from some people about what they think we should consider as part of that plan. Today is another big piece of that. We have a survey drafted, and we will be sharing that survey as another way to get input. And we hope people will email us or let us know about things. I'm going to give a wacky not real example. So if anyone's a reporter for the Times Record, please help me correct that this isn't, we don't anticipate this is going to happen. But if today we hear from you, there are two strong priorities for what we do with the land. We should put a go-kart track there and a meditation center there. I doubt that's what's going to come, but we're listening, right? If you tell us that, our job as a committee would be like, can we put a go-kart track and a meditation center next to each other? That's hard. We would have to put them probably far away from each other, or they're going to interrupt each other, right? So, and we can't put a go-kart track in a wetland. So our job will be to take your suggestions and then try to figure out how to implement them in the best way possible. So right now we're trying to figure out the what we might do. The committee will then scratch our heads to go, okay, if we're trying to do all of these things, how might that work with the land and the restrictions that we have? We're going to then draft our best job of the plan, and then we hope the town and our neighbors will have a chance to say, no, 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 the go-kart track won't work there because you forgot about this, right? I hope that would be a hard job, so I hope you won't give us that job, but that's an example of what we're doing. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom if you're ready to talk about, what we're doing and, what we've already done about a portion of this land. Oh, and actually before you start, after this brief background, here's how today is going to work. We're going to kind of ground us all so you know what the process is and what's been done so far. That's what we're doing now. Then we're actually going to go around to places to collect your ideas. So you'll see that there are some easels set up in places around the room. That will be a chance for you to go over and ask questions and give your ideas about those topics. So we'll talk through what those topics are, and the members of the committee will be sort of taking your notes and capturing them. You don't need to worry too much about exactly which, if you get your idea in the wrong station, we will still take those ideas, hear them, and put them into our big process. May I ask, while these guys get ready, for the members of the committee to stand up, introduce yourself, and say what other things in town you do or what connects you to this project?
Hello, I'm Nat Shad, District 6, person on the Town Council, and also a citizen. And I'm really happy to be on this committee because it's a wonderful piece of property.
I'm Kurt Stinson. I'm on the Conservation Commission from the Town Council. Put this committee together. They asked for 2 representatives from the Conservation Commission tonight.
Hi, I'm Emily Davidson. I live right by the property, and I have a background in environmental science, entomology, and wildlife conservation, and that's the field I work in too.
Hi, I'm Emily Schmidt, and I represent the Parks and Rec Committee. Second one of us haven't been some years today, but I'm representing Parks and Rec. I'm Elaine Harrower. I am the second Conservation Committee representative and love this piece of property and avid hiker, so wanted to make sure that I had my fingers in this.
Hello, one and all. All the people I've seen here, Dave Watson, District 1. This property is right behind my house. And his too. What's important to me is what I bring is probably history. And I don't know all the history. I'll leave that to Millie. Where's Millie this year? She knows as much history, if not a little more than I do. The property has a rich history. Rich history. At least that I know of, 2 different villages out there on that property. Horse track, blueberries, of course. All that memorabilia needs to be preserved. I have my ideas on where this should look. I'm going to voice them today. Maybe I might. I don't plan to. But this is an opportunity for the town of Brunswick. The town of Brunswick's future. It's about inactive and active recreation. this could be a piece of the economic pie if it's done right. In other words, take some of the tax burden off the people, taxpayers of the town of Brunswick. That's how I do.
And I'm the sneaky one up here. I'm Evan Zibikowski. I've lived in Brunswick now for a couple of years. Sorry, I'm Evan Zibikowski. I've lived in Brunswick now for a couple of years. And I have 2 small children. And one day we rode our bikes over to this property, and it was really fun to slide down a big hill of sand. That's my connection with the property. And I guess my background is sort of similar to Emily's, but in natural resource management as well.
And I'm just a lady who loves to go walk around that place. I started going in the pandemic, and I've swum and fished and, just kind of explored, gotten a lot of poison ivy and, mucked around. I think it's a really neat spot, and I hope we can, give it to the next generation in a good way. Great.
Okay, everybody, I'm Tom Farrell, the Director of the Parks and Recreation Department in Brunswick, and we're the department that's charged with overseeing, and have been for a while now, the Captain Fitzgerald property, and ultimately going to be charged to oversee this entire complex of both properties. Next slide. So I know most of you, as I look around the room, I know a lot of you, and I know you're very familiar with where this is, but for those who may not be aware of where the properties are, what this map represents is, excuse me, Cook's Corner, heading toward Bath on the old Bath Road. The properties are contiguous to one another, one 66 acres, the other one 163 or thereabouts. Next slide. This is just a little closer overhead view of the parcels. The Fitzgerald parcel, the 66 acre in green, and the Maine Gravel Services former property is all what you see there in tan, including the pond that's on that site. Next slide, Eben. I know some of you in the room were involved in a prior process, and I think this is what Sherry wanted me to touch on a little bit. So, as it relates to the Fitzgerald property, that was the first property that the town received from the U.S. Navy in the form of a no-cost public benefit conveyance. So the town has received numerous properties from the base closure, not all contiguous, but the remainder of the properties all exist on what is now Brunswick Landing, the former Naval Air Station that you access off Bath Road, and also Route 24 now, and 123. We are required by the conveyance to create a management plan and a master development plan for each of these parcels that are conveyed to the town. Additionally, we're required to provide the Navy and the regulatory agencies, Environmental Protection Agency, Maine DEP, and others, periodic reports every 5 years that speak to whether or not we've implemented the plan that we articulated we would undertake if these properties were conveyed to the town. In other words, what the Navy is looking for is assurance that if these properties get transferred at a no-cost public benefit conveyance to a municipality or another governmental entity, that we're actually going to use them for the purposes that we explained at the point we applied for the properties. So this is the master management plan that was done in, I think it was 2015, we finished it, for the 66-acre site. And I know some of you, as I look out, were involved in those discussions. That particular 66 acres is very high conservation habitat value as determined by the Maine Natural Areas Program. So it's a little blue stem, blueberry barren of sorts, pitch pine heath barren, and certain species rely on that are endangered in Maine. And when we put forth the proposal, We knew as a Recreation Commission, we have another plan, because the town has plans. It's called the Parks, Recreation, Open Space Plan, which determined East Brunswick, east of Cook's Corner, has no municipal recreation facilities for children or adults. And that was an area that the town was targeting to get some land to build public recreation facilities. We've got 2 large trailer parks off Old Bath Road with lots of young families. And children don't have a real safe, accessible way to get to any of the town's recreation facilities. So the Recreation Commission took particular interest in the creation of this plan. What's in that plan is a proposal to develop no more than 15 acres of the 66 for active recreation facilities, which would have included, if you go look at the details of the plan, 2 athletic fields, a playground, parking, centralized kind of concession, restroom building, as well as a future trail connection to what is known as the Androscoggin to Kennebec Trail. So where the bike path ends in Cook's Corner in Brunswick, there's another initiative underway to try to extend that bike path from Cook's Corner all the way to the Sagadahoc Bridge in Bath. Seeing that it goes right by this property, it only makes sense for children and adults to have a safe way on bicycle to get from Bay Bridge and other locations further out Old Bath Road to be off-road and not trying to bike up Old Bath Road. So that connection's critically important, and it's articulated in this plan. Next slide. Since we were conveyed in 2014, we conducted the first of 2 prescribed burns on half of the site. This is done specifically to support the habitat type that's there. If we didn't do it and we just let it revert, it would eventually go, that habitat type would cease to exist. Next slide. After we did that, we did another evaluation with people from the Maine Forest Service, Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry, local Conservation Commission. We decided that even though we did these burns, there was a number of tree species on the site that needed to be removed to give it its best chance to survive as that habitat type. So in 2015, we did a 66-acre wide tree removal to reestablish the grasslands. Next one. And this is the second of the 2 prescribed burns that we've completed there. We did it in 2018. That aerial photo shows in the bottom, after the day or 2 after it was burned, you can see the darker color there. And we put up some interpretive signs out there. So those of you who've walked around may have stumbled across them. They basically talk about what prescribed fire is all about, the benefits of it, and why we do it. Next slide. And this is what we've been doing since that last burn. We have been bush hogging half of the 66 acres every other year. So in the fall, we've had a contractor go out there and has been bush hogging half of the site. That's to keep all these undesirable white pine species from basically regrowing. Next slide. And this is the Gravel Services property that we were conveyed. And as I said, you know, it's a former kind of commercial site. A lot of sand came out of there. A lot of it, from what I'm told by the former owners, was used to build Route 1 and other, out here, the runways at the Naval Air Station. There's a tremendous resource in this property, and I think most of you familiar with it in the room all know that. We want to make sure we do a responsible redevelopment of the property that will have an appreciation for maintaining the spectacular beauty and its natural resources and making it more accessible to the public for public access and recreation. Last slide, if you would, Eben. This is the charge, which we're going to talk to you at the end of this about other tools that you can learn more about the property from home. So we've completed a story map. We've established a website. You'll be able to have access to all of what the committee sees in real time in terms of agendas and upcoming meetings. And we've got drone footage. We've got photographs all over the properties. And people can spend some time getting associated with what we've been looking at as a committee. So you'll understand as we move forward in our decision making, It's based on what information. It will all be posted, and we'll give you that link before we're done. That's the charge, and those that bullet points there are what we're supposed to do. So we're supposed to research the historical uses of the land. That was done on the 66 acres, and to Council Watson's point, there's quite a robust history there. Determine what types of recreational uses are appropriate for the property. That's what today's really about. We want to hear from you about what you think the recreational uses we should consider should be for the future of these properties. Produce a preliminary site plan for future recreational facilities. Develop a corresponding capital construction cost estimate for the facilities. Determine operations and maintenance costs necessary to support them once they're built. Perform an assessment of the existing habitat on the former Maine Gravel Services site, which is yet to be done. Recommend any ecological management plan for those portions of the property that are determined to be high value. And then the last thing, we're to host 2 community-wide public forums to inform citizens about the master plan process and to seek your input on the plan. What I will do in concluding is say, this is the first option. The first meeting of the committee, I believe, was in November, if I'm not mistaken. We meet every 3 weeks. This is the first opportunity for the public to talk to us, to give us input. The second opportunity, in terms of the discussions we've been having as a committee, will come when the committee produces a draft plan. So before we go to the town council with that plan, we're going to want to make it available to the community, have people have an opportunity to spend some time with it, and then we'll hold another larger community-wide gathering so that people can give us feedback. Did we make the right decision? Should it be tweaked in any way? Is there something we missed completely as a high priority? So that concludes my remarks.
So I think now we're all on the same page of what we're doing here today, I hope. And so now we're going to be listening to you and your ideas. And the way we have sort of thought about doing this is we have stations around here with sort of categories of the things we believe we will want to be thinking about as we make this plan. So just going from my right, history and education. If you're interested in the history, making sure we know about some of the historical uses, thinking about educational displays, or how we might take this property and use it as part of our town's sort of history and culture and our sense of ourselves, that's the place to be talking about that. We have sort of ecology and natural resources. This is really where we're going to, listen and make sure to tell you about what we know about the habitat, the species, the sort of the stewardship of those natural resources that the town should be keeping in mind. We have economic development and facilities. Really, this is if you want to talk about money and costs, right? Should we charge a use fee? Should this become a place that we're trying to attract attention? Do you see an economic development piece, or you want to make sure there's something expensive that you are worried about or you want us to talk about? That's that bucket there. We have active recreation and passive recreation, and my committee can help me because I may get this wrong. Active recreation, we are using to mean programming, equipment, a court, facilities, if you need an aquatics instructor or a lifeguard, if you need a playing field, if you need equipment rentals for something to happen, right? That tends to be things like programming that the Parks and Recreation Department would sponsor or organize or maintain or develop. Whereas passive recreation, if you go down and hike, maybe you sit on a bench, right? Maybe you go sit at a picnic table, but once it's there and built, it needs less ongoing staffing or maintenance. I think if an off-leash dog park would probably be an active recreation because the town sort of oversight, maintenance, and sort of cleanup around things like that, those kinds of programs. But we are flexible. Don't worry about which one you're going to. Come and tell us your ideas, and we'll just make sure to capture them. And then we have hunting, fishing, and harvesting, right? Like if you want to talk about the sort of use and sort of sportsman use of the land, that's what that is. And my job will be timekeeper. So what I'll do is go to your station that you're most excited about talking about or asking about, and we'll capture your ideas. We're going to do this for about half an hour, and at 10-minute increments, I'll just let you know. So if you say, I kind of want to go see what's going on in this other station, you'll have an opportunity, or just walk around on your own accord. That's what we're doing now. Any question? Oh, and in the back, I have other. If you have something, if at the meditation center you're not sure where it falls, or the go-kart track, come and talk to me. I'll be stationing the other, and if you're not quite sure about this process, feel free to come and talk to me over an other. All right, leaders, go to your stations. Members of the public, go to your stations, and we'll start this process. Say what your group was, and then a quick summary.
So this is economic development facilities. So things like, should we have restrooms and a kiosk that sells stuff? Should we charge for things? What kind of big things do we need to put on the property to make it work? One of the discussions, there was a long one that I didn't write down, was do we have enough infrastructure just to get people to the park on the Old Bath Road? And should we consider more part of that, a larger scheme in the development of the town in terms of the getting to that facility, either from the Bath side or from the Brunswick side. So I just wanted to get that out of the table. So I'll just sort of quickly summarize what's up here. I know you can't read it from here, but
You mean there?
what?
You mean there? You can read it there.
Yeah.
I can read it. So this one is about having an active swimming program for residents and seniors, charging for a fee for that privilege, having boats, having rentals, having buildings for private functions. Like a lot of parks will have a pavilion, and they'll say it's going to cost you $75 for the day or whatever, and you've got to clean up after yourself. This one is collaboration with tourist companies to create an experience for tourism and camping. So maybe having a campground there, maybe having some other attraction that would bring tourists or tourist groups to the area. This one down here is a connection with the Brunswick Topsom Land Trust, setting up a ecology center on the site, so there'd be a process for education for school groups and individuals who come and use the park. And then also coordinating for people from East Brunswick to get into the park, education for K through 8, field trips to the schools and facilities. And then, we've talked about this before, but looking at the whole bike and ped connection to the corridor between Brunswick and Bath, connecting to that, and also our connecting onto the Old Bath Road for bike and pedestrians. And then active recreation, fee-based for non-residents, so maybe free for Brunswick, or charge for out-of-towners. So that's the summary of that area. I'll write it down later, but the idea of spending the money to make it into a swimmable facility is expensive because it's not a natural pond with a natural slope. It's a drop-off slope. So to make it into a public swimming area, it's important for people to know that we'd have to do a lot of permission from the state and a lot of EPA and a lot of bulldozer work.
Yep. Thank you. That was pretty good for a quick summary for a half-hour conversation, so thank you very much. And I'm going to challenge. Who's up for the next challenge? Speedy summary. All right, great.
I have passive recreation and just hold on. Okay. I think the summary is basically the folks who had ideas here are using the current Captain Fitzgerald site and like it the way it is and want to see it stay that way for things like hiking, birding, dog walking,
those sorts of things. There were some ideas on enhancing trail connection to neighborhoods, ADA trail available, and then signage, maps, blazes, a big board at the beginning. But I think in general, what is happening right now at Fitzgerald is what people want to continue to see there, and as much on the new parcel as available.
Great, thank you. Who's next? Great. And just lead with what your group was.
Yeah, sure. Awesome. So my group was the Ecology and Natural Resources group, and we had a really great conversation about preserving the grassland and some concerns over making sure the property is managed appropriately for the type of wildlife that use it. We talked about the importance of environmental studies on the impact of uses, the concerns with the firing range that's currently there, the fact that the pond is probably a lot of the neighborhood's drinking water, and making sure that that is preserved and protected in appropriate ways. We talked about basically just environmental education and the opportunities of bringing kids and neighborhood folk into the area to provide information. Kind of keeping the paths maintained in a way that it's not intruding on the type of habitat. We talked a lot about how the Captain Fitzgerald specifically is considered a really at-risk type of habitat in the state of Maine, and then the gravel site, trying to figure out the best use of the area, what type of wildlife is using it right now, and how to manage for that, whether that means trying to restore the pond to some area. And I also want to just note the importance of the way the ecology and the hunting and fishing really overlap. We didn't get to talk a lot of the people that were over there, but we know there's a lot of overlap there in how an area is managed to provide for that type of wildlife and that type of recreation that's used on the area.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, Emily.
All right, so I had active recreation. There wasn't a lot of active recreation brought forward. It seemed that the consensus is that the ongoing MARC project, as far as organized field type events, maybe those no longer need to be part of this from what they were originally in that 2015 plan to put those fields in at Fitzgerald. So, but the things that were really hit on was the pond for swimming, organized swimming, swimming lessons, lifeguard swimming, non-motorized boats, canoe, kayak rentals with a potential partnership with BTLT for education, teaching people basic water safety, using the pond for that. The idea of potentially putting, if there is active recreation like a playground or basketball courts, those would be near that pond area, the swimming area on the gravel services side of things. Potential summer day camps with like the Korea type thing with BTLT. We had some people saying no active recreation whatsoever. There shouldn't be swimming out there at all. And then making sure that there is, again, the link connectivity so people couldn't get out there to access the land. This, I'm going to bring it up because it got brought up in mine, but it's not really active recreation. There was the idea of having like a plant sale and area for native plants, specifically a section there that shows people what the native plants are and explains what those are. And then, again, limiting the large-scale active recreation, such as putting up fields, because the MARC is coming ahead, but consider it on more of a small scale to ensure that we're meeting those needs of the 2002 open space plan to bring active recreation to East Brunswick, and then open cabins, tent sites, et cetera.
So we touched on a lot of things. We went rogue for parts of it, but I'll try to just focus on the hunting and fishing. One of the things right off the bat was making sure that the fishing access is ADA. I thought that was great. Ice fishing as well as regular spin fishing or fly fishing during the season. Carry-in, paddle, no motor. Keeping the boating restricted that way. Maybe creating a launch area so there's a designated place to go in, which would protect, plants and the ecology around the pond, so it's not just putting the boat in at any point. Hunting, we did talk about hunting, bow hunting, black powder, and shotgun, conforming to what IF&W has already in the area. And it's been, the consensus of my group was it's been out there for a while, for a long time, and they would like to continue the access to that. But on the flip side of that, we also have concern from some of our residents that, you know, restricted hunting, we need to protect the wildlife that is out there. The harvesting, berry harvesting, mushroom, wild edibles, there seems to be a lot of that out there. They would like to be able to remain doing that. They suggested Brunswick residents only for hunting, not to open this up to people from out of town. And how would that be enforced? Possibly partnering maybe with IF&W and doing youth fishing derbies in the ice fishing season or in the summer season as well. Let me see. We talked about putting up signing, making sure there's a lot of education, public information about the hunting season, and that if the property is going to be allowed to be hunted, then to make sure that there's a window of time and that it's well publicized. We did talk about the under 16 fishing only in a stocked pond. Didn't go over really big, which is fine, because there's more than one reason that wouldn't, you know, they didn't seem to be interested in that. We did talk about, though, doing fishing lessons, fly fishing lessons, guided fishing to teach people how to fish, but everything in a not-for-profit kind of avenue. And everybody was big on no alcohol on the property, no camping, and only uses in the evening or the nighttime after sunset would be a specific program, a moonlight hike, a stargazing event, something of that nature. And I think I got everything.
Like, can you do the dogs for me?
The what? Oh, on yours? Yeah. Off-leash dog park and dog swimming. Or specific hours for off-leash dogs on the land. We did, this is part of our rogue thing. Oh, and they also, the police department, they're not cleaning up, so if they're gonna use the property, if they're, as hunters, have to clean up and be respectful, then the police department should also. And then in my group, they said the dogs should be leashed and pick up their trash only off-leash in a specific area and not all over, especially away from the ponds, and put up dog poop dispensers. I think we got all that.
Dave, are you up?
I think you should.
Yeah.
Did you have anything?
I was given the history and education part. Do I need this? Yes. I was given the history and education part. It was an interesting discussion. We talked about outdoor education center and subgroups there and where it might be. Talked about just the history of the place. What you have to remember is that on this property, and I'm talking about both properties, we have come across artifacts that go back a minimum of 5,000 years. So let's say between 5 and 10. And I'm going to point out Millie Stewart. Raise your hand so everybody sees it. She owns property just off there. That's where Lindbergh landed and went and entertained with her father. But she has also hosted college digs there that have turned up numerous artifacts, campsites, campfires, I should say. Is that correct, Millie? Okay. These are things that she's told me. So the opportunities here for education with an education center, a facility that's built that provides the history from 10,000 plus years ago. What we must remember, at one time, East Brunswick was a river. And the sand, not gravel, that is in this pit is the bottom of that river, and it goes down some 240 feet. So
That's where we should start. Explaining the lifespan of this property from prehistoric times to present, which encompasses a river. It encompasses prehistoric settlements or artifacts. It encompasses our Native Americans. It encompasses the history of the black population that lived in East Brunswick. And they lived on this property as well as other pieces of property on the Androscoggin in the bay, right through to the Hardings plant coming in. It's just a tremendous city. We may have to improve the old Bath Road for the traffic coming in. So you'll have to forgive my humor. But it's a possible. Walt Coombs worked for the state in the highway. He probably would like to see it improve because of the traffic that's going to be coming if we do it right. If we do it right, because this will be an economic boon. When the pit was opened in the 70s, after I got out of the service, the town had to put no parking signs up on the old Bath Road because there was cars parking on both sides of the roadway. You couldn't get an ambulance through there. They had to put no parking signs up because of the hundreds of people that were out there swimming. It is the best swimming in Brunswick. It is the best fishing in Brunswick. There are bass in there that like that. So it's time for me to get done. Oh, you don't want to go home, okay.
Thank you. I had other, and really I had some, we like it the way it is, let's not change it too much. We want other people to know about it, but not too many other people to know about it, and maybe that's shared. Someone to make sure we thought about closing at dusk, right, not being open all night. The Model Airplane Club wasn't quite sure which group to be in, but they're looking for a place that will involve some parking, sort of runway access, some fencing in order for hobbyists to be flying their model airplanes. And they wanted us to be sure to talk about handicapped accessible trails. So that's come up in a lot of places. That was a speed round. We have a lot to digest, so I want to move through now what and get you all out the door. I just want to say thank you. This was robust and more successful, and I really am glad so many other people love this property and see its potential. I think the question now is we're going to try to figure out how to do what you've told us you want and to make sure those who aren't in this room have the chance to tell us more. So we're really listening. And then, to digest this, I can imagine a plan. I mean, I've heard some pretty expensive ideas, right? And this will be the town council's job to implement, but I can imagine a plan involves some things we can do now, some things we can do, in 3 to 5 years. Some things might take a while, right, to build the go-kart track or what, some big giant ambition for a regional education center, who knows? But I guess that's part of what we're going to try to scratch our heads about so that we can make a complete recommendation to the town council that we hope will make sense to the people of Brunswick. So now what, right? Our job as a committee is to try to take this information and make sense of it. Tom's going to show you a website. So just the committee has put together a website. There is a link to something called a story map, which really takes you through visual and maps and history and some uses of the land. It shows the land in context. So if you're talking to a neighbor or a friend and they don't know, what were you doing, you can say, learn about it here. It's kind of a neat spot. And then the website also has the minutes of the past meetings, the schedule of the upcoming meetings, a link to the survey. So I hope it will give you a way to stay tuned to what we are doing. Tom, have I missed anything about the website?
No. The only thing I would say is We did a couple different things. There's a tremendous amount of photography on there done by Sherry. Outstanding photographs of all these property. I mean, it's pretty amazing. But the other things that you may not know we did is we've flown the entire property line around both properties with a drone. And we've linked it to actual on-the-ground photography. So if you go and look at the drone footage, you'll see there's an ArcGIS map there that you can actually interact with. When you get over a certain location, you want to reference a photo taken there, you can do that. The website is all encompassing, so everything the committee sees is posted there. Everything we produce. This is the address, and I'll leave it up.
Live yesterday.
Yeah, it went live yesterday, but please feel free to write it down. You can also access it beginning Monday on the town's website. There'll be a direct link, as well as our department, Parks and Recreation.
Will we be able to post photos that we've taken personally as residents on?
Oh, that's cool. I don't know that we have the send them to us and we'll do it. We'd love that. Thank you.
I've taken quite a few myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Any of this been videotaped for this meeting for people who weren't able to get here?
Yeah, Jim is videotaping it right now, so we'll make this committee meeting available, or it will be, Jim, it will be on the town's website soon-ish. Stay tuned.
There's several people who are handicapped who'd love to have been here today, couldn't.
Yeah. So there's a couple other natural next steps. So you may, if you visited the town, somebody was like, how do I even get there? Where is it? Why? I'm never sure if I'm in the right place. Well, yeah. I'm going to misstate this. I'm going to give you the gist, and then for the precise story, you'll talk to Tom. But basically, this land is public land, but it's not, it hasn't been designated. It's not in the law, covered by the ordinances that make it part of the Parks and Rec department. In other words, Tom can't put up signs or make rules about it because it hasn't been designated as land that's within the purview of the Parks and Rec department. This committee, in saying we'd like people to go, but we'd like there to be a sign that says leave at dusk or park here, or we'd like to kind of invite people but also be able to make some rules about use, in this interim period so people can experience it. We haven't had that authority. Monday at the town council meeting, the town council is considering that ordinance change, which will take these parcels and include them in the town's outdoor land ordinance. So that's happening on Monday, and that's, hopefully they would pass that, which would let Tom's department more officially begin making rules and putting up signs and, and treating it as open space that the public is welcome. It's been in a little bit of an interim state until then. So that is the next political act that involves this town. Our next meeting is March 14th. We're going to digest that, figure out what our agenda should be. We hope to see some of you there. And on the way out, if you want to give us your email address, we will send you the agenda, any materials, any reports, any written things that our committee will be considering at that. Yes?
Will they be hybrid meetings?
Yeah, they're hybrid Zoom and in-person meetings, unless the council changes rules around that, but so far they have been Zoom meetings. Yep. Yes?
Tom, if somebody in the audience, or especially the people handicapped that you mentioned, want to add to this stuff, is there a vehicle where they can do it other than the survey? In other words, can they supplement us by email, something like, and how would they do that?
That's already begun. Some people who couldn't be here today have emailed me, and when you go into the website, you'll see that there's 3 email addresses there. The 2 counselors, Shed and Watson, and myself. So if anybody has any input they want to give us, they can go to the website and send it to all 3 of us, one of us, and it'll be shared with the entire committee. That's the best way to get the information for those who can't interact. The other thing is, go on the website, look at the phone number for the Parks and Rec Department. If you want to talk to me specifically at any time, just give me a call at the office, and you can share your input that way if you'd like.
And if you want to talk to a counselor, now, what's your phone number?
find it on the website. I saw some hands. I'll go to you, Steve, first.
Thank you. Just breaking news. Dakota Shipley had 21 points and 10 rebounds, and Brunswick overwhelmed Tony.
Go Dragons! Great, thank you. I saw hands here. Yeah.
I think I'm kind of blanking right now, but yeah, emailing might be, I'm going to send out this link to my list of emails, and I'm going to list email addresses to counselors. And so, yeah, I think this is an ongoing conversation. And when will the video be on? It'll be up
midweek, and it'll also be on the town YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah, so, you know, all that, oh, I know. So you captured everybody's email that I attended today. Will there be a follow-up email or?
Well, the list that we took was really if you want to be notified about meetings and get that information. We're not sort of undertaking a private email update campaign, but that will be sort of the meeting agendas and information. So we'll certainly share things. I mean, our job is to try to be as transparent as we can on this. So.
And just to let the audience know along those lines, we've got, I don't know, 10 or more people that already are on that list who called early on in the process and said, how can I stay connected? And what we do is we put them on the email distribution list whenever something goes to the committee. Yeah. So they get all the materials that the committee sees.
Meaning committee materials, so when you're meeting, you're about to meet the materials that
the agenda, all the supporting docs.
About the next committee meeting, you get the materials and all.
Correct.
So you get them. So this list will.
That's right.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, great.
You had a question?
Is there a closure date for the survey?
No, not yet. We have that probably to be discussed. Yeah.
Sabrina was going to put, we talked about it yesterday, shoot throughout March 30th.
March 30th? That may make sense, right? We haven't decided, so stay tuned. I think there should be, right? Because at some point we're going to have to go, all right, you know, now we're, you know, this can't go on forever. But we hadn't designated it. In a moment, you're next.
So the next public meeting will be on the 14th of March?
March 14th.
Will that be here?
No, it will be at the town office chambers where the town council meetings.
And that's open to the residents?
It's open to the residents, yep.
Give them the time now, because it's.
Oh, 4:30 to 6. Yeah.
I've got one quick question.
Yes.
The YouTube channel, is that?
The town YouTube channel is
You do YouTube Town of Brunswick, you will find it. Okay.
YouTube Town of Brunswick, yes.
I might have missed this, but how do we access the survey? Is it on that website?
It is on this website. And be careful, because I think once you do it, you can't do it again, which is good probably, but like, you know, pay attention, right? Well, yeah, you have to use other computers or something. I want to acknowledge the time. It's now past 3 o'clock. I did my best to get you out of here on time. We'll stay around. I want to say thank you to SMCC. And I want to say thank you to Tom and his Parks and Rec staff for setting this up and making it go so well. And thanks to all of you for being here, and to the committee who's been working very hard. Thanks, everyone.